The financial crisis of 1857 and the panic that ensued caused the closing of the majority of the banks in the Nebraska Territory, save one, the Bank of the Dakota, that was managed and operated by Augustus Kountze, friend of John Bracken. His brother Herman joined him in the West in 1856, and in the early months of 1857, they opened the Kountze Brothers Bank. They were the children of a very large family. Christian and Margaret were their parents. They lived in Ohio, and Christian owned a grocery store, and it is believed that the grocery store business was where he taught his sons how to operate a business. Seeing the success of their brothers, Luther, Charles, and William soon migrated west, and the band of brothers were responsible for the development of many successful financial institutions throughout the Midwest, the Rocky Mountains, and New York. Early on, they agreed that the Kountze brothers' banking enterprise would benefit all brothers. William traveled up north to Dakota City, and unfortunately, he took ill and lost his life. His brothers brought his remains back to Omaha and laid him to rest. Luther went on to Denver, where he opened a branch of the Kountze Brothers Bank there in 1862 in the corner of a local grocery store. Charles joined Luther 2 years later, and eventually the two took on Colorado, and they aided in the organization of the Colorado National Bank and the Rocky Mountain National Bank. Luther eventually went on to New York, where he founded the Kountze Brothers Bank, which was responsible for the founding of the Metropolitan Opera House. Augustus eventually left Omaha as well and joined Luther in New York. But before he left, he and Herman transitioned the Omaha Bank to the First National Bank of Omaha. Herman took over as president of the First National Bank of Omaha and oversaw operations of the Kountze Brothers Banks in Nebraska, Iowa, and Minnesota. He stayed in Omaha, where he found wealth, prestige, happiness, and his wife. He married Elizabeth, the daughter of another Omaha pioneer, Thomas Davis. Aside from banking, Herman was also in real estate development and developed many of the residential additions to Omaha City. He was also heavily invested in the railroad, having stakes in more than 5 railroad companies. He was also one of the founders of the Knights of Exarban. This is a community organization that was founded due to an ultimatum that the city of Omaha was given by the Nebraska State Fair. They were told that the city would no longer be able to host the Nebraska State Fair if they did not start offering other entertainment options outside of saloons, gambling houses, and honky-tonks. So the mission of the Exarban Club was, and still is today, building a more prosperous heartland where communities can flourish and every child can succeed. Herman was also one of the original 12 founders of the Forest Lawn Cemetery Association. And to this day, there is a Kountze family relative that sits on the board of the cemetery.